Hello everyone, my name is Shen. I'm the owner of Pacific Rim Foods, also the restaurant Cravings. If you haven't been to our website, please check us out. Making two things today. We're gonna do a barbecue pork and we're also gonna do a shrimp wonton, okay? So first thing we're gonna start is barbecue pork. And do not panic if you cannot follow along necessarily per se. We're gonna try it the best we can. That's why we record this video so we can always replay it back. So I hope you have some pork shoulder or pork belly at home. Depends what you like. If you prefer kind of lean pork, I will use a pork shoulder. If you prefer a fat pork, you can use pork belly, okay? So I have roughly 3 pounds right here, kind of cut in about 1 inch and this long, okay? The first ingredient we're gonna have is hoisin sauce, which is, I don't know how many of you guys use hoisin sauce. This is kind of very generic grandfather brand. It's invented by Iron Chef from Hong Kong, so that's what we always use. So on there, I told you guys roughly 1/2 cup to 1/3 cup. But Asian cooking, as I said, is it's more like a painting an art. It's not baking a cheesecake or a matcha crepe cake. It should be kind of accommodating to your own taste instead of creating exactly the same thing time over time. So you will see I don't have a measuring cup much here. I'm kind of just go by feeling. But for you guys, I have a measuring cup. The reason I choose 1/2 cup to 2/3 cup depends how much meat you have at home, depends how sweet you like your food to be. Hoisin is actually quite a sweet sauce base, okay? So I'm gonna put about roughly 1/2 cup for 3 pounds of pork. The next thing we're gonna put in is sugar. I said like again 2 to 4 teaspoons. Again, it's based on what your taste. Some Cantonese, Southern Chinese prefer really sweet barbecue pork. I'm from northern part of China. I prefer a little bit saltier, so I'm not gonna put as much sugar. So I'm gonna take a happy medium, which is gonna be 3 spoons, okay? Next thing we need is the egg. Just 1 egg in. Okay, next thing we need is garlic powder. A little bit of background about me. I'm not an Iron Chef, but by all means, I like to do this. My father is a cook, and he used to cook like for the whole village weddings. So I've been learning cooking from him since young. That's hence my style is not gonna be like 1 teaspoon of that, 2 tablespoons of that. It's everything I learned from my father that he learned from his grandfather, okay? So a little bit of salt, just kind of a pinch. If you like it saltier, you can put a little bit more. Otherwise, about 1 pinch is good enough. Okay. Then that's everything in roughly. We're gonna put a dye at the end. So you kind of want to just mix everything in carefully, but nicely. The egg, the purpose of the egg is kind of tenderize the meat instead of using a tenderizer. And hoisin is kind of mostly a sweet sauce, a little bit saltier. The barbecue overall, the tradition is kind of like a sweet meat versus saltier meat. So nicely kind of blend everything in. Like I said earlier, cooking is artwork. It's not precisely measuring. So you can see this pork is nicely covered in sauces. So that's how you know you had enough hoisin. And if this is your first time making this, I've been making this barbecue pork day in, day out for a while. So if this is your first time, you can slowly add the sauces. If you feel like, oh, you need more sauces, then you can always add it in. But once you dump the sauce in, you cannot take it back out. Just keep that in mind, okay? And finally, barbecue pork is that red color, which is a dye. There are 2 things you can choose to use. This is called red yeast rice. It has a very good health benefit. It's used for natural coloring. However, I understand not everyone lives maybe an Asian populated area. This product may be hard to buy. You can also go with it, always go with GFS. Gordon Food. Here is a red dye, okay? So obviously the red yeast rice is a healthier version. How are you gonna use that? You had to have a molder, kind of molder into a powder and add it in. For today's class, considering I'm not sure if everyone lives in the area has access to that rice, it's actually a hard product to get. We're just gonna use the JFS red dye. You really don't need a lot, just a couple drops. Like what I said, okay? You cannot take it out, but you can always add more, so just do it slowly. I have a large bottle because I also have the restaurant right behind us, so we use it quite a bit because we marinate barbecue pork in the restaurant all the time. So like I said, you know, for restaurants, they tend to use a lot of red dye to make it very beautiful. For us, you know, cooking at home, we're just trying to be the health benefit. You can see the color change from kind of brown to this reddish color. That's good enough for me. And all you have to, now you kind of see this kind of almost like a ketchup texture sauce. That means you added enough a right amount of hoisin, you added right enough of garlic powder, and eggs as well. And the wonderful thing about barbecue pork, I mean, we make a little small portion, but normally you can do like 5–10 pounds, marinate it, freeze it in the freezer. However, whenever you want to eat it, you can just defrost. It'd be a nice, easy dinner. So that's all. Normally you want to cover this up. You can leave it in the refrigerator overnight or at least minimum 2 hours, or you can do it in the morning, come back for dinner, however you want it. Like I said, you can also make about maybe 10 pounds at least. And then, because when you bake these, also takes time, and also we want to be energy reservative as well. So you can just set that aside. Due to the time constraint for this class, I actually baked ahead of time. So I have some pre-baked already. So the key to a good barbecue is actually you had to choose a pork that has a little bit of fat and also a little bit lean meat. You don't want all just lean meat like a pork loin. That's just not enough fat. So that's why you want pork shoulder or pork barbecue. So this is a piece I already baked ahead of time. You guys have the baking time on your sheet. It's 350 Fahrenheit first for 30 minutes, then 250 for another 30 minutes, okay? So the first part of it, the 30 minutes, kind of trying to cook the meat, get it cooked. The last part of it is trying to make the meat tender and slowly have the flavor goes in while you're baking as well. I also did a little plating. Gotta balance our greens with our meat, and also we have some bok choy. The bok choy part you didn't see, but pretty much just steamed rice in the middle. The bok choy pretty much just baby bok choy or whatever you have laying around at your house, peppers, broccoli, you know, whatever you have. Remember this, we're not trying to create a gourmet chef to serve at a restaurant. You're just trying to cook for your family. So I have a piece of barbecue pork right here, okay? I have some fat right here, which is nice, and you can see like a little black mark right here. That's how you know you cook it perfectly. Sometimes you want to like make your oven boiling for the last minute or two, kind of get a nice char looking. Obviously, if you live in California, summertime, you can grill outside as well. Just got to make sure you control the temperature on your grill, okay? So when you slice, you want to slice kind of the long way. Always tuck your fingers in when you're cutting. This is a beautiful piece. You see that little fat is nice and juicy. So you kind of, you know, cut a long way to make it pretty. You don't want to cut it too thin. You don't want to cut it too thick either. The whole thing about cooking, you know, the knife work and the after work, everything has to combine together. If you cut it too thin, you lose kind of that chewiness of the meat. If you cut too thick, it'll be hard to bite. So keep that in mind. I want to kind of cut fat and lean meat at the same time. This is probably more than what we can eat, but you can just nicely plate it. Now, I know some of you guys are gonna be like, whoa, what happened to the bok choy? Well, how did you make that? It's pretty much just boiling water. I blanched it. I put a little salt in the water. I blanched it for maybe about 5 minutes. Like I said, any kind of vegetable you can use, but keep in mind, depends on what kind of greens you're gonna use. It's gonna be a little different, the cook time. Okay. That's about it. You can put this on top for decoration. You say, oh, the vegetable is kind of bland, it doesn't have a lot of taste. So what you could do is always add a little bit soy sauce. You can also add the juices from your baking, from the barbecue as well. That would be a perfect idea to do that. You can like kind of pour the juice into a bowl and add a little bit of soy sauce in there, kind of cook it up a little again. But for me, I'm just gonna, my juice is at home because I actually baked this at home. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of sesame oil, and that's it. Like I said, if you're baking this at home, save that juice, okay? You can just pour juice directly on if you prefer a sweet juice. Try it first. And then if you want to, you can pour that into another small pot, add a little bit, maybe soy sauce, water, boil kind of into another sauce over this. It's entirely up to you, okay? So this is pretty simple. This is the barbecue pork. The marination part is really easy. The cutting part, kind of like I said, try to cut longer pieces so you can plating however you want to plate. Next thing we're gonna do is the shrimp wonton, okay? Why you said the wonton, the skill, the way I show you is kind of the entry into all meat fillings. Wontons, dumplings, somewhat similar. We chose shrimp today is because we already have made the barbecue pork, so we're kind of trying to balance out, have some seafood while having some meat. Some people may say, oh, you know what, I'm not a meat eater. That barbecue pork is not for me. Something you can also try is you can try with tofu. I will use like a firm tofu, or if you have a fryer at home, or if you can have access to fried firm tofu, that's even better for you. You can just use the same marination process what I used back there, marinate tofu, and you don't have to bake it. You can just lightly pan fry in the pan. That will work as well. So I have, like I said on the recipe, about 10 to 15 pounds of shrimp. I kind of cut it into smaller pieces already, okay? Now I pre-cut a whole bunch of onions. There's about 4 or 5 stalks in there because we're gonna use it later for wonton soup. So I'm gonna put roughly 2 stalks in here. Like I say, if you're allergic to shrimp, use chicken, turkey, anything you can think of, you can use. Okay, just mix it in like that. My mom also have a saying for me since we're children. When you mix dumpling or wonton skins, you always want to go one direction. If you're going to go counterclockwise, always just follow the exactly direction or clockwise. So all the onions in, you kind of roughly get the idea. You see lots of green in there. Okay, I'm going to add the ginger. And roughly, like I said, 1 teaspoon, smallly minced. Ginger has a strong flavor. If you say, I don't like ginger, okay, you can cut that back, maybe add white onion instead. Like I said, everything is up for your taste. You can change however you like. Okay, mix that in. I'm gonna put all the ingredients in. Okay, I'm gonna need light soy sauce. When you're cooking with white meat like shrimp, chicken breast, I tend to use light soy sauce versus dark soy sauce. So this is a light soy sauce, okay? If you guys curious what I use all kinds of soy sauce, depends on what I'm making. Then you're gonna say, oh, how much did you use? I would say roughly about 1 teaspoon. Like I said, it's entirely up to you if you prefer something salty, not too salty. I can tell just by the color how it looks. Salt. Again, 1 pinch, a very small pinch. Because remember, seafood naturally come from the ocean, has salt in them already. So when you cook seafood, you generally don't need to put too much salt as it is. Mix in, following my direction. Okay, cooking wine. Right here, This is a Taiwanese brand. You can use any white cooking wine from any Asian stores. Some people say, can I use a grape wine or like a drinking wine? I have never used that for when it comes to Asian cooking. So I normally generally put about a capful for 15 shrimps. My cameraman just told me to move something. I have no secrets with you guys. I share everything. Okay, here's that. What else am I missing? Ah, chicken bouillon. Yes. I like to use this kind of chicken bouillon. It's kind of like a granulate versus powder. It's called a Mama brand. You probably see it all the time, so that's what I prefer to use. Just about 2-3 pinches, or roughly 1/3 teaspoon. You don't need a lot. Some people say, why do you chicken bouillon? It's kind of like a taste enhancer. It's not quite like a MSG, but we do use it a lot when it comes to shrimp. Chicken and shrimp is a great combo, okay? Again, mix it in. That's pretty much everything in. Because shrimp is kind of got that fishy taste to it, I tend to use a little bit white pepper, just 1-2 pinches. Now you're going to be saying, why you choose to use white pepper powder? The white pepper powder doesn't add quite much as dark color like the black ones. So thinking about restaurant, like again, going back to my restaurant side of me, you don't want to serve something that has like black spots in there and customer be like, what is that? Is that dirty from your dishcloth or something? So that's something you also want to keep in mind. Okay, last thing I add, I believe I got everything, yes. I always tell people the sealer of cooking is sesame oil. So the last thing I'm going to add is sesame oil. Because we're not using a meat product like pork has more fat and chicken and beef, I tend to use a little bit of oil just for kind of a fatty taste. Not a lot, honestly, just like a teaspoon is good enough. And like I said, when it comes to Asian cooking, often people tend to cook the sesame oil like very early on. The sesame oil should be after, when you do stir fry, should be heat off, then a dash of sesame oil as a sealer. If you use too early on, the flavor tend to evaporate. My cameraman didn't ask, but I'm sure he wanted me to clear things out of the way. Okay, that's everything in. If you try to kind of get a tender, juicy style, you also have the option to add cornstarch in there as well, kind of combine the fillings. I personally don't add cornstarch into my wonton fillings just because I like them kind of watery, a little loose. But most restaurants, like when they do siomai or they do hagao, which is like a shrimp dumplings for dim sum, they tend to add cornstarch to that as well to combine everything, okay? So that's that. And comes to the fun part, which is making it. So I have some wonton skins right here. Normally at a restaurant, obviously you have to change cutting boards or clean your cutting boards out, but I'm kind of trying to cooking this as a family style for all of us, okay? So here's the wonton skin. Pretty much in the market, there are 2 kinds of wonton skins. One is a yellow kind, used generally thinner. It's called Hong Kong style. It's also used for siomai as well. And there's the white kind, and it's a little bit thicker. That's what northern Chinese people like. They prefer to taste the dough versus taste the filling. So there are generally 2 kinds. Whichever kind you picked up is totally fine. Just make sure the square is wonton skin, the round is dumpling. So just keep that in mind, okay? Sorry, that's my grocery side of me coming out. So we got the fillings all mixed, and I mentioned about the wonton skins as well. I chose the yellow one, okay? Before we start doing, we need an egg as well. We kind of need the egg yolk as a sealer, as a glue. Think of it as a glue. So get the egg yolk in here. So here's an egg yolk, and we gotta mix everything in again. I can smell the sesame oil. I don't like to waste any food. That's why I put the egg yolk in the shrimp, the egg white part in the shrimp as well. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do this. Few ways. So don't be greedy, don't put too much. That's about right. Roughly what? 1 tablespoon? And seal like that. You're never gonna be 100% seal. Ooh, the skin is so thin, I had 2 in here. So just 1, okay? And use your middle finger. I know, you never thought you'd ever hear that in your life, right? Use the middle finger, kind of tug a centerpiece, okay? And put the egg yolk right here and just glue it together. You don't need too much egg yolk, like that. Okay? Again, you can try to find a side that has less starch. Again, don't be too greedy, just a little bit. Less than 1 tablespoon. Make a triangle, okay? It's not like you can seal the edges because these doesn't stick, but that's part of the wonton soup. So use your middle finger, like I said. Make a curve, push the 2 edges, and your right hand on top of your left. If your left hand is the same thing, a little bit egg yolk as a glue. Here you go. Pretty simple. Meanwhile, I'm going to turn on my water so we can boil that. Again, find the side has less starch. A little bit, don't be too greedy. Kind of put 1/3 way. Fold it down, make a triangle. Middle finger, egg yolk. You really don't need too much egg yolk. There's another wonton. Again, the key is that do not put too much ingredients in, okay? Then some people say, well, if it doesn't close well, can I close it? Can I use like egg yolk on the edges? You may, you certainly may. And then that way the flavor kind of stay in the wonton better. But that's a lot more work. But most time, we don't close the edges. Now we're gonna use that soup base to make the wonton soup base as well. I mean that boiling water. So you will see, nothing gets wasted. See, this one I put a little bit too much. It's a little greedy. I got greedy, so it's coming out. You can fry these if you use another benefit of using the yellow skin, the Hong Kong style, is you can also fry them too, which is David's favorite thing. David's my cameraman, by the way. You guys can say hi to him. He makes a fantastic fried wonton. I honestly have enough for like a full meal. I have roughly 12, 13 wonton. That's enough for a full meal. So the water is boiling, okay? I'm just gonna add them in. Now you're gonna say, why is your water green? What is going on? That's because I was using that same pot of water boiling bok choy, and I didn't want to waste the vitamin E that's in there, so I'm just using the same water. That's what I'm talking about. You know, when you're cooking at home, being 20th century in this country, I prefer to not waste food as much as we can. So, roughly 1 pot. Gently stir a little bit. Okay, it looks like I may need a little bit more water, so I'll add a little bit more water. This is hot boiling water, by the way, guys, that I pre-boiled on the background. I'm gonna move this again to the side so I can show you guys how to make the soup base. We'll have a dry baby shrimp skin. If you accidentally bought the dry whole shrimp, that's okay too. But typically, this is a Shandong style. That's where my parents are from. It's kind of close to Qingdao, but not quite. The part that they grow up in China is called Shandong. It's most well known for making dough food, like wonton, dumplings, buns, onion rolls, things like that, okay? So it's up to you. Like I said, it has a little fishy taste, but it has tremendous health benefit. It really does, it's kind of a supplement for calcium. So keeping that in mind. So like I said, a pinch. Meanwhile, keep an eye on your pot. It's kind of boiling super fast. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. Okay. While you're boiling these, keep about medium high heat. Okay, so next thing you have on your list is dry liver. What is a dry liver? It belongs to the seafood family. My son loves this. Has a lot of mineral benefits. He's 7, by the way. He's been eating this since he was 5 or 6. Okay, so it kind of comes in a bag like this. The big sheet is like this much. You really don't need much of it. Unlike wakame or Japanese seaweed where it expands, these does not. It stays in the exact shape. Okay? So you can put as much as you want or just a little bit. This is how much I'm gonna put it in. Remember, like what I said, unlike wakame, they're not gonna expand. Then cilantro. I love cilantro, so I'm gonna put a little bit more. If you don't like cilantro, you think it tastes like soap, because some people do, you don't have to. Green onion, soy sauce. You always wanna use a light soy sauce. Don't ever use a dark soy sauce, or normal soy sauce is okay. It's up to you how much you wanna put it in. Roughly, you wanna start off like a teaspoon. Rice vinegar. In northern China, we always eat a lot of rice vinegar, okay? So go ahead, put that over. Just a dash as well. About the same proportion as the soy sauce. If you say I'm not a vinegary person, you can put less or skip that step. Meanwhile, keep a pot on. You can actually add cold water to this process, cool it down, let it keep it boiling. If it was a dumpling, that's a necessity step. But because it's a wonton, the wonton, you notice the edge wasn't 100% sealed. It's not gonna blow up like a balloon. So I'm just gonna keep it like a medium heat, let it keep boiling. Okay? Then cilantro, green soy sauce, a pinch of salt. Okay? You can also taste the wonton first before you add soy sauce and salt into your soup base, just in case you feel like the wonton is salty enough you don't want to. But I literally just pinch the salt. And sesame, pepper, bouillon. I know I do pinches a lot. I hope some of you guys are cooking like me at home. A dash, a little bit more dash. I love spicy. Okay, that's everything in except for the sesame oil. Right here. I'm gonna check and see how it looks. The wonderful thing about using shrimp is also shrimp show its color through. If like right now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I can see it's already turning red, so I know pretty much it's done. If you're unsure, you say, what is the time? I would say roughly about 3 to 5 minutes. Depends on what kind of burner you have. You have a gas burner, you have electric burner, you have a flat pot. My burner is super powerful. I got it from my cameraman. He works at Whirlpool. So at this point, okay, you can just go like this. Remember what I said, we're not wasting anything. This has a bok choy juice in there. I'm just gonna use the exact same thing for wonton. I'm gonna remove from heat because this is an electric burner. It's gonna keep on going, okay? If you say, the water kind of turned yellow, I don't like to use this, you can just use another batch of regular boil water, that's okay. for lack of another clean spoon, and this is pretty hot, it's gonna cook off. I'm just gonna go use the same spoon that I used on the yolk. And pretty much that's it. You can try it. Like I put a lot of lever in because I love it and my son loves it, so that I can put it in. For presentation, you can tug under if you want to, just a little bit. And you can try what you made today. David, you want to eat some? Are you jealous?
I'm very jealous.
Oh, David's gonna be really jealous. Don't worry, I'll make you a bowl. I'm gonna try the wonton. I'm burning my mouth for you guys, by the way. Oh, it's so bouncy and juicy. That's the thing about making the shrimp one. You have to choose a good shrimp, okay? It's so good, okay? Then comes the barbecue. You gotta eat what you make, right? So I'm gonna try a piece. Perfect. I prefer probably a little bit more saltier for me, but I think for you guys, it's perfect. Thank you.